Ji, Assalamu alaikum, students of grade 11. Welcome you all in Pakistan International School Thai on our YouTube channel. Uh, Belated happy Eid to all of you. You must be sitting at home, of course, and enjoying with your siblings and parents. Due to COVID-19, nobody is able to go outside of his home, but it's okay, no problem. Allah's blessings are still there with us. Alhamdulillah, we have to be thankful for that. So I welcome you in English Hub. You'll be here with me for English classes. As you know, this is our virtual learning system. So I'll be teaching you subject as I've told you earlier. It's English Hub. So we'll be studying English, unit number 1, and the title is First Flight. And it's me, Mrs. Imran. Yes, children. Before we start our today's lecture, let me congratulate you first. Though you didn't appear in exams, but no problem, at least you did your best. You made your all efforts for appearing in exams, but fortunately, and for few of you, maybe unfortunately, you couldn't appear in exams because of COVID-19. But I would like to congratulate you that you have been promoted to your next classes successfully. Yes, children, when we talk about learning outcomes, so there must be a frame in our mind, or maybe an outline in our mind that what actually we're going to study today and what will be our objectives and what we will be learning after once we'll be finishing our class. So what we have learned from today's lecture. So the first point is it's about reading to be able to read and understand language and description of topic from a variety of text. Whatever you'll be understanding, you'll be understanding a language, and along with that language, understanding language, you need to know about the topic's description as well. The second point is it's about writing, right? So to be able to write describing impressions, feelings, and experiences, and to write about familiar topics as well. Yes, children, once you'll be reading that chapter, you'll come across with different experiences as the writer has told us about. So you'll be enjoying those experiences as well, and the experience of a writer and then experience he's sharing about a bird. So you'll be enjoying that as well, and somewhere you'll be seeing that, and you'll start observing the same in your lives as well. Yes, children, here we go. The first part, let me tell you clearly. Just imagine yourself and put yourself in the same frame and observe it. Starters. Do you think that we all were the starters? Yes, we all were the beginners when we were in Montessori. So that was a time when we were told and taught different alphabets, different sounds, different colors, and we were learning initially. So that was a time when the bird is just like a baby bird here. So it's hardly able to sit down or to sit on his, to simply sit down. Yes, you can take starters as your primary classes, till primary classes, right? Then let's move to the next step. That's the next stage that's been known as or can be taken as movers. Movers are the students, those who are proceeding for the next classes, those who are moving and stepping forward. Stepping forward in a way, maybe in grade 6, 7, or 8, or maybe 9 till grade 10. So they are the movers actually. They are still working hard, they are still struggling, and they are still planning and they're dreaming. So I mean, like, they're still not dreaming so big, but still they had something in mind that yes, they have to pass their metric exam. So this is the second stage. And Alhamdulillah, you have covered these both the stages. You have crossed these both the stages. And now you are stepping in the third stage. So that stage is called as flyers. Right. So, students, when I'll be telling you about the contents of the same book, you will come to know that how this book is being designed, how it's been properly set for the students of grade 11, and how they are giving you a guideline or a track line to step forward. Right. So, you are the flyers now. I mean, you're going to fly soon, inshallah. How will you be flying? Of course, you have to make up your mind. As I was talking earlier, like, it was all about dreaming big or dreaming high. So of course, once you'll be dreaming so big, or you'll be having big dreams, so the day will, it's not so far when you'll be having your dreams will inshallah come true. So these are very interesting stages, so I just thought to share with you. It'll help you a lot in your success. Yes, children, let's talk about our contents. Yes, as I've discussed with you and I've shared with you earlier, that the contents are very interesting. The titles are so interesting, and literally these are engaging. I mean, they literally let me engage for a long time. I started thinking on the same way. Oh my God, if I'll be teaching my students at the first time, it's first flight. So of course, it seems so catchy actually, because I'll be motivating my students, because my students will be able to understand what actually they are learning, right? So the first title is his first flight, and the theme is first attempt. So yes, students, you'll be having different attempts in your life. You must have done so many activities, and but for that, first of all, the thing you need to do is about to take first step. So that's been taken here as first attempt. Likewise, it's been, I mean, like in the second, over there in the second title, after knowing about this, we'll be discussing it later. And here the focus is facing challenges in life and learning from experiences. Okay, students, let me just tell you a little more about it. That sometimes it happens that we learn from our experiences. Fine, that's good enough. We need to learn actually. But sometimes, and wise people always talk in this way, and they always suggest us and advise us that better to learn from others' experiences. I mean, it's not important that all the time you have to experience yourself first, and then you'll be learning from that, because sometimes there could be some we can have some bad experiences in life as well, right? So better to learn from others experiences as well. This is my suggestion, or just a little piece of advice for you all. It's nothing to do with the chapter, right? Yes, outcomes, as we discussed earlier as well. So here, reading and thinking skills, then writing skills, and then grammar and languages. Of course, we'll be studying this also, and we'll be learning as well. So the second title is first year at Harrow. Of course, this is once again, it's about the student and all, and student and his struggles, and his all efforts which he made to get admission in the new school. And this is once again, it's about first experience, and then the same outcome is there, and the same focus is there. So I mean, it's understood, and it's pretty sure, I mean, like, it's pretty clear here. So the third title is first day of school. It's also a very interesting topic we'll be discussing, and we'll be learning it. You'll enjoy this, seriously. First experience once again, right? So these all are based upon first experience of your life. Yes, here we go. Oh yes, it's Liam O'Flaherty. Yes, his date of birth 1896, and died in 1984, right? Occupation was, of course, he was an author, and he was an Irish guy. So yes, let's begin with the chapter. The chapter is here in front of us all. So it's an interesting topic, chapter, by the way. It's about a seagull. The very interesting thing about the chapter is you'll be, especially in the beginning, you'll be surprised because all the characters have been taken as living characters, right? As human beings, right? But those all are the birds, right? It's about a bird family, and the bird young seagull is actually a main hero type character, right? But in the beginning, he wasn't able to fly. He was reluctant to fly. He was so fearful. He always thought about himself that he cannot do anything in his life. And I mean, what can he do, by the way, in his life? Of course he cannot fly at all. So his family members, that's why I'm using word. See here, it's used his two brothers and sister, and already flown away and all that. Okay, but overall it's all about they he his. It's telling you that all about it's taken as human beings, right? So the young seagull was, let's start it. The young seagull was alone on his ledge, right? He was sitting there all alone. His two bros and his sister has already flown away the day before. This is how it happened. Like, this is the setting of this chapter, right? So just make up your mind for that. It's the setting of this chapter. So you need to know about it. He had been afraid to fly with them. So he was reluctant to fly, right? Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge and attempted to flap his wings, he became afraid. What does it show? It shows her fearful approach. It shows that he was reluctant to fly. It shows that he was a timid person. He was a timid bird. He wasn't able to fly, right? He thought about himself always like, I cannot fly, right? The great expanse of sea stretched his wing down beneath, and it was such a long way down, miles down. He felt certain that his wings would never support him. It shows his pessimistic approach. Do you know, students, what's pessimistic approach? Pessimistic approach is that approach which leads you, or which makes you more timid, more hopeless, or make you more like fearful, or it gives you an impression that you are no one and you cannot do anything in life, right? So it was there, I mean, like, shows that there is no ray of hope actually. So he bent his head and ran away. Back to the ran away, you can just let me tell you one thing more here, that you have to underline some phrasal verbs also. And phrasal verbs means like when you have a verb along with one preposition. So that's known as phrasal verb. So you'll be having a question in your exams of 5 marks, I guess. So that will be your phrasal verb. So you need to underline these phrasal verbs, and these will help you later on, right? In making different sentences and all that. And even while writing any composition, it will be helping you a lot. So, and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. It shows again like he was hopeless, right? Even when each of his brothers flapped their wings and flew away. Flew away is again that the phrasal verb. He failed to muster courage. He was seriously, he couldn't gather his courage. He couldn't make up his mind that he can fly. So to take that plunge which appeared to him so desperate, and because of that he was totally desperated. He was totally, I mean, he felt about himself that he is unable to do that. So he was actually hopeless here. His father and mother had come around calling to him shrilly. Now the parents are parents, of course. They can't leave him this way. So they tried their best just just motivate him, to just give him courage, to boost them up. So it's okay, just take step. But he wasn't willing to do so. Upbraiding him, he was giving him confidence to move. And somewhere here it's been specifically, if we're just talking about upbraiding him, so it's the meaning of this is to scold someone or to give him an eagle eye. Oh my god, yes, I'm here to take care of you. So just, I mean, just be on your toes and move on. This is for that purpose, right? Threatening to let him starve on his. Yes, this is the time when the parents are planning to give him a little tough time unless he flew away. right? But for the life of him, he couldn't move. This is how he was thinking about himself. That was 24 hours ago. Since then, nobody had come near him. This is the second situation, right? In the first situation, what did we learn today? That this was all about his timid approach, his fearful approach, and it shows his reluctance. The second stage, the second paragraph is telling us about the situationally how it was literally occurring, right? Or how it was happening actually. The day before, all day long, he had watched his parents flying about with his brothers and sister, perfecting them in the art of flight. Wow. I mean, once you just sitting at back, observing everyone that they all are enjoying their flights and he is not there, right? And this way they are trying to teach him he even like how can you fly, right? Teaching them how to skim the waves and how to dive for fish. This is how they were trying to guide him, right? And technically tactfully they were handling the seagull, right? The written seagull. He had, in fact, seen his older brother catch his first herring and devour it. Now there was a time when the fish was there and they started eating that. So it was all about that. Standing on a rock, and of course he was there and observing everything, while his parents circled around, raising a plateau. Cackle, proud cackle. So they started doing what? There was a proud cackle. Proud cackle means what does it show? It gives us a feel like, yes, I mean, we have achieved something and you are left behind. This was that approach actually. And all morning, the whole family had walked about again, children. Just underline this, and there are so many others, so I skipped, but you may just underline yourself phrasal verbs, right? So these will help you while making sentences in your exams. Walked about on the big plateau midway down the opposite cliff, taunting him for his cowardice. Yes, this was their time, by the way, and they were trying to give him an impression that yes, you are at back and we have achieved our target, right? So here we go. The second page, page number 13. Children, open up that. Yes, I think you are all are with me and enjoying the lesson. It's so interesting and it's so catchy. Literally, whenever I start reading this lecture and especially start reading this chapter, it engages me. It really engaged me so much, so that I always feel about it that yes, it's an engaging chapter. Yes, the sun was now ascending the sky, blazing warmly. This was again one more setting, right? The setting is changed on his ledge that faced the south. This was a situation. He felt the heat because he hadn't eaten since the previous nightfall. So here is little a feel of self pity, right? Somehow he's feeling bad about himself, right? So these there he had found a dried piece of mackerel's tail. Oh my god! At the far end of his leg. This is how he could handle himself. There was nothing. There was nothing else to eat for eat. I mean, he couldn't eat anything else. So this was the only thing left over there, and that was the left part of of that fish. Now there wasn't a single scrap of food left. Yes, this is how I was telling you before. He had searched every inch, rooting among the rough. He was trying to find dirt cakes, straw nest, where his brothers and sisters had been hatched before. Oh my God, this was a time like actually it seems like he was eating the part of his own, right? He even gnawed at the dried piece of spotted eggshell. So he was eating that the same part of that, whatever like he has been. I mean, that was eggshell actually. It was like eating eating the he was eating a part of himself. Yes, he was actually eating a part of himself. He had then trotted back and forth is again an idiom. You have to just underline this as well. This is an idiomatic phrase. This is not phrasal verb, right? So just underline this as well. From one end to the ledge to the other, his gray body the color of the cliff, his long gray legs stepping daintily. Now, this was the time he was trying to be very normal and he was posing actually, but he was not actually. trying to find some means of reaching to his parents. This was his effort, of course, and he had no other choice actually, without having to fly beneath. And between him and his parents there was a deep wide chasm again. There was a gulf type space over there. So was it was perhaps, and above him he could see nothing. The precipice was sheer, and the top of it was perhaps farther away than the sea beneath him. So he could hardly think of this all, but he couldn't fulfill his desires and all. Yes, the third para is about he stepped slowly out. The step out is again you can use as a phrasal verb, to the brink of the ledge. Yes, this is how he was trying now, right? And standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing, the third setting. He closed one eye, then the other, and pretended to be falling asleep. This is how he was trying to pose now, right? It's showing his little dramatic situation. Still, they took no notice of him, of course, because they were on they had their own stance as they have planned it. So they were in the same situation, on their own stance, as they thought like we have to make him fly. That's what his family was thinking about him. He saw his two brothers and his sister lying on the plateau dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. This is how they were observing him. His father was preening the feathers. Now there was a time he was trying to maintain his own feathers on his white back, right? Only his mother, now the role of mother is still there. Only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau, her white dress thrust forward. This is again about the how situationally it was all happening. Now and again, it's again idiomatic phrase, underline that. She tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet and then scraped each side of her beak on the rocks. This is how she was trying to give him an attraction. The sight of the food maddened him. Oh my god, it made him crazy. It gave him a feel like he has to go there and he has to get that food, has to get that meal for him. How he loved to tear food that way. This is how he was visualizing that all, scraping his beak now and again. I have told you earlier, to wet it. He uttered a low cackle. This was like little, like it was a low cackle. It shows like he was feeling so down this time. His mother cackled too and looked over at him. So students, inshallah, we'll be continuing from here in the next lecture. Hope you enjoyed the lecture and you understood whatever I've taught you. There are so many vocab words. So for that, you have these the vocab bank is with you in your book as well. So you may see and observe there, and you can learn many of the word meanings from there. And I'll be asking you maybe, I'll be giving you another assignment for that. This is your vocab bank. All words meanings are given. If still you have some confusion, you may ask me. No problem. You're most welcome. Yes, I think you must have your Holy Quran routine, children. So recite Holy Quran daily. At least try to do hifz. At least try to learn at least 2 or 3 verses of Holy Quran, of any surah like Surah Yasin or Surah Muzammil, any one of those. Up to you, up to your ease, and keep enjoying. Stay home, stay healthy, and stay connected. Good luck, all the best. Have great time. Remember us all. Remember your school in your prayers. Allah Hafiz. God bless you all.